and probably this will be my last majlis before we start the ayyam of Shahr Ramadan. And so I do not intend to extend this particular series beyond today's majlis, tonight's majlis. Having said that, this particular majlis becomes very important because then this is the final link to the previous 3 majalis that we've had. I will just give you a brief recap of what we discussed in the last 3 majlis so that you know where we stand tonight and why tonight's majlis is so important. In the first majlis, when we talked about and we started this, we had stated that Allah has said if a person, male or a female, with iman does good deeds, I will give him hayat tayyibah, a good life in this world. And in akhirat, I will reward him in the best possible way for his good deeds that he has done. And in speaking about that hayat tayyibah, if you recall, I'd spoken about the efforts of Allama Amini and Al-Ghadir as to how a person can get, because of his good deeds, hayat tayyibah, by writing that Al-Ghadir and his rewards in the eyes of God and through the hands of Amir al-Mu'minin in the Akhirah. The second part of this was when we had said that this hayat tayyibah that we've got from life in this world, we are born till we die, there are certain predestined and predetermined sets. One of them is death, one of them is where we are buried, and the discussion of the burial and how at the time of our birth, the place of our burial has been ordained. That's point number 2. Alaikum salam. In the third majlis, we had given that warning that we should not, rather not we, Allah has given us a warning. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O you who believe, aminu billah, believe in Allah. Warning us that because of some good deeds that your parents or your grandparents have given to you and have graced you with this love of the Ahlul Bayt and the Iman and the deen of Tashayyu in which you're living, do not become too complacent, do not become too lax, do not become too lethargic because of this Iman that was given to you on your hands, probably not because of your own doing, but because something that your ancestors had done, and I wanted to grace your ancestors by making you into this deen. The reality is that while we have graced this Iman to you, being born in a Shiite family for no work of yours, you need to be careful. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, aminu billah. Hold fast to this Iman. Don't do things as a result of it. This Iman goes away from your hands. And we've discussed all those instances as to how and when it is possible for an Iman that we have inherited out of inheritance for something that our ancestors have done. We've got it for free. And if you're not careful, that Iman can go away. That we discussed in the last one. Today I want to take you in this final lecture. We could have extended it, but again, we're going into Maha Ramadan. And Maha Ramadan, we've got a separate discussion to take over. And this will be the final 4th link of the series. And that is that I want to start off with one tradition of Amir al-Mu'minin salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. In Nahjul Balagha, where he mentions something very, very important, and that is what we need to realize. And you have to understand, today's majlis, there will be quite a few things that you may have heard before. But Quran always says, if you repeat things, if you keep recounting things, dhikr is beneficial. Inna dhikra tanfa'ul mu'minin. Now, in what I'm going to discuss today, it starts off with this tradition of Amir al-Mu'minin al-Islam. It's a very amazing tradition. And then I will take you through certain things that probably all of us have known, A few things you will not have known. Because that's what I make an effort. Everything that you know, I'm not supposed to tell you, because then there's no need for me to come here. But it should serve as a reminder for us that, and this is something that repeatedly Ayatollah Bahjat used to say. And people would go to him and tell him, give me something that I can do to get close to God. He would most of the time say one thing: what you know, act upon it. Whatever you know, and we know a lot. जैसे कि मैं सुना हम आपको देख रहे हैं, आप जो 50-60 साल से जो मजलिस से सुनते आ रहे हैं, that's a massive treasure house of knowledge over the past 5 decades. But the problem with us is, आपकी तरफ इशारा नहीं कर रहा हूँ, सिर्फ एक मिसाल दे रहा हूँ. The problem with us is that we learn, we get to know, but we don't act on it. And Ayatollah Bahjat would always say, you want to get close to God, whatever you know, act on it. Because it brings about a cyclic reaction. We know something, we act upon it, that increases our taqwa. Once we increase our taqwa, Allah says in the Quran, وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ يُعَلِّمُكُمُ اللَّهِ. Do taqwa of God and Allah will teach you. وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ. Fear God, obey God, يُعَلِّمُكُمُ اللَّهِ. Allah will teach you. How? Don't worry about it. He's got his own means. But whatever you know, if you act upon it, he will make sure that your knowledge increases. Your knowledge increases, you will act more taqwa, more knowledge. It keeps going on into a cyclic reaction. Then you have a person like Fudail ibn Ayyad, who was a daku, who was a gunda, who was a dacoit, becomes waliullah. If somebody who was a dacoit, somebody who was a bandit, somebody who was a chore can become a waliullah, why not us? Why not us? So today's discussion is exactly this, and this tradition, it is there in the hikmat of, in Ghurarul Hikam, in Nahjul Balagha, in Biharul Anwar, short sayings of Amirul Mu'mineen, where he says, إِنَّهُ لَيْسَ لِأَنفُسِكُمْ ثَمَنٌ إِلَّا الْجَنَّةِ. That, let me tell you, don't think about excessive things. The very basic price and cost of your souls in your life is paradise. It's not something big. إِنَّهُ لَيْسَ لِأَنفُسِكُمْ ثَمَنٌ إِلَّا الْجَنَّةِ. The price for your life is paradise. فَلَا تَبِيعُوهَا إِلَّا بِهَا. Do not sell your life for something less than paradise. That means getting paradise in the eyes of Amirul Mu'mineen for our life in this world is the very basic. I mean, somebody who doesn't reach that basic level, he's really messed up big time. The basic reward for a person's life in this world is paradise. Then you go into region where Quran says, وَرِضْوَانُ مِنَ اللَّهِ أَكْبَرُ. That you may think that paradise is one of the biggest of the things. All the hur, all the ni'mat, all the bounties, all the fulan. It says bigger than that is ridwanu min Allah. The happiness of Allah. And that's why we've got reward that if you don't understand a few things, just let it go. But for those who might understand, I have to speak it out. If certain mindsets are receptive to something, it is important for me to speak it out. There are reward that tell us, وَلِلَّهِ جَنَّاتٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has certain jannat, la hura fiha wa la qusur. For us, all along, you see, recite Surah Waqa, you said you've got hur, you've got food, you've got rivers, you've got sharab, you've got milk, you've got houses, you've got falan, you've got shade, you've got trees, you've got seas, you've got everything. But he says there are certain jannah, there are certain paradises for his awliya in which la hur fiha wa la qusur. Neither there are hur in it, nor there are palaces and food and rivers and streams. Those are those for my awliya. My awliya don't go for all these material things. They come to me for spiritual closeness. When I'm spiritually close to them, the pleasure that they get out of this is much more than all the physical pleasures. And that is what Quran says. Well, all the benefits of God are very high. But Ridwanum min Allah akbar. The greatest of the benefits is for getting the Ridwan. And this is what is there in Ashura. Ya ayyatuhan nafsul mutma'inna irji'i. O my nafs mutma'in, come to me. Ila rabbiki radiyatan. You are radi with him. Mardiya. He is happy with you. That is the greatest. But anyway, let's come to this. Amir al-Mu'mineen is saying that the least that you can get, the very status quo that you should get for your life in this world is paradise. Anything less than that, you've really made a big loss. There is 0% return on investment. In order to understand that, I have to take you to some place, because where I want to take you, I might take 5-7 minutes extra, but in view of the fact that this is my last Thursday majlis over here, so I think you should do that to me, yeah? In order to understand this, that paradise is the very basic reward for a person's life. All the other things that person does, that is something even more. He's saying the very basic is paradise, and don't sell your life for anything less than paradise. In order to understand that, I want to take you to a little background. I want to pave my way to explain something to you that will come in the last 10 minutes or 15 minutes. But in order to take you there, I have to take you to Surah Hajj. The very first two verses of Surah Hajj. It starts with Ya ayyuhan nas. He's not talking to mu'mineen, he's not talking to kafir. Ya ayyuhan nas, he's talking to everybody. Ya ayyuhan nas, ittaqu rabbakum. Fear God, inna zalzalat as-sa'ati shay'un azim. O people, fear your Lord, because the shaking of the sa'at, of the day of judgment, is shay'un azim. It is amazing. It is too fantastic for you to understand. Till you don't experience, you will not know. But I will tell you a few words. I'm just paraphrasing what Allah is saying. Saying, Ya ayyuhan nas, O the people of this world, of this universe who have created. Ittaqu rabbakum, fear your Lord. Inna zalzalat as-sa'ati shay'un azim. This shaking that is going to take place in the Qiyamah is shay' azim. It's an azim thing. Then he goes on to say, Yawma tarawnaha. It is a day when you will see كل مرضعة تذهل كل مرضعة أما أرضعت. It is a day that when that shaking begins to take place, when the threshold of Qiyamah will come, and you will see all the changes that are taking place. Look, I don't have time. 2010, Muharram in Stanmore, 12 majlis on Qiyamah that are recited over there. Hour and 15 minutes, hour and 30 minutes. Stanmore has never shut my mic off. That's probably 15 hours constantly, only on Qiyamah. If you manage to get that, you need to understand what this means, that يوم ترونها كل مرضعة تذهل كل مرضعة أما أرضعت. You will see on the day when the threshold of Qiyamah will come, women who are feeding their children will leave their children and go on their own. You know, the maximum love that a human is attributed to is the love of the mother for the child. In Urdu it's called mamta. It says mamta ki muqabla koi mohabbat nahi kar pati. The strongest bond in a human, normal humans, is between between a son and the child. And that mamta, that love is at its peak when the mother is feeding the child. Again, this is given by Allah for the child's sustenance. If the love was not there, no mother would take care of the child. But that love is so strong, and that's why we say the love of when we compare the love of God to His creation, we say, oh, He loves a person, His creation, more than 70 times the love of a mother for the child. Why do we say 70 times love of the mother for the child? Because the most intense love between two individuals in this world, forget about Ahlul Bayt and Allah, that is different. But normal people is between the mother and the child. And that love is at its maximum when the mother is feeding the child. Allah says when the shaking of the day of judgment takes place, it will be so severe and so shadeed that even the maximum peak of love that a human can have, a mother for the child at the time of feeding, that woman will leave the child to protect herself. يوم ترونها تذهل كل مرضعة أما أرضعت وتضع كل ذات عرض حملها. And you will see every pregnant ladies, because of that fright of that day, will abort the child. No, not abort, will miscarry the child. Abort is intentional. Miscarry is natural. It says the fear and the fright of that day will be so intense that a woman will miscarry her child, will drop her child. وَتَرَى النَّاسَ سُكَارَى, and you will see people running around here and there as if in a state of sukara. Sukara means intoxication. When you consume a lot of alcohol, when you lose your mind and the way you move around, that is called sukara. وَتَرَى النَّاسَ سُكَارَى, and you will see people in an intoxicated state, senseless, running here, running there, going here, going there, going to this person, asking for help. وَتَرَى النَّاسَ سُكَارَى, you will see them intoxicated. وَمَا هُمْ بِسُكَارَى, they are not intoxicated. وَلَكِنَّ عَذَابَ اللَّهِ شَدِيدٌ. The adhab of Allah is so shadid, it will leave a person senseless. I'm not in a position right now to talk, but at that time the Quran identifies what will happen in the world. What will happen to the sun and the moon? What will happen to the earth? What will happen to the waters? What will happen to the mountains? All in the Quran, in that majlis, in that ashra. It says when people see that وَتَرَى النَّاسَ سُكَارَى, people will appear to be senseless. They will not know what is happening. وَمَا هُمْ بِسُكَارَى, they have not taken intoxication. وَلَكِنَّ عَذَابَ اللَّهِ شَدِيدٌ, the punishment of God, the adhab of God is so shadid, they will lose sense of time, place and being. This is about Surah Hajj. Why does this, in this state, Allah says when this is happening between the individuals that are there, certain things will take place. Certain things will take place. In Surah Abasa, he's narrating what will happen. He says, on that day, when this will happen, when out of fear, a woman would leave her breastfeeding child, the fear will overpower the love between the husband, the mother and the child. And the fright is so much that the child in the womb will miscarry, will fall down. In that state, people, those who are not in these categories, you will see. يَوْمَ يَفِرُّ الْمَرْءُ مِنْ أَخِيهِ وَأُمِّهِ وَأَبِيهِ وَصَاحِبَتِهِ وَبَنِيهِ. And on that day, you will see every individual yafir. Yafir comes a word farar. La yumkinu al-fararu min hukumatik. Yawma yafirru al-mir'u min akhihi. On that day, you will observe a person running away from his akhi, his brother. Wa ummihi, from his mother. Wa abihi, from his father. Wa sahibatihi, from his wife. Wa banihi, from his children. That means in this world, all the relationship that we live for in this world and we die for in this world, and every second of our life in this world is for those relationships. On that day, every single individual a person will run away from. Today, you should ask anybody, why are you working so hard for my family? For my family, for my children. I want to leave things behind for my children. They have a good life. Who? Children, wife, mother, father, brother. Allah says on that day He will sever connections with all of them. يَوْمَ يَفِرُّ الْمَرْءُ مِنْ أَخِيهِ, he will run from his brother. وَأُمِّهِ, he will run from his mother. وَأَبِيهِ, he will run from his father. وَصَاحِبَتِهِ, from his wife. وَبَنِيهِ. Today everything, even the mafias that kill people, all those who spend those narco cartel, who flood the markets with narcotics, if you ask them, why are you earning so much? Why are you doing so much? Killing so many people, destroying the lives, it says to give a good life for my children. All of those will be severed. The question is why? In order to understand that, we need to go back again to the Quran. As to on the day of judgment, what is it that will give us success? Once we understand that, now we will come, and right now we are going top to bottom, then we will come back from bottom to top. So, on the day of judgment, we heard what Surah Hajj says. That is how the situation will take place. What will happen to the people? Each individual will sever connection with everybody. He sees the mother, he will run away. Sees the father, he will run away. My children, my entire life I spent for my children. I killed people. I opposed God for this child. I don't want to see him today. Why? Come to the Quran. Quran says on the day of judgment, a person, if he wants to be successful, he says there is just one criteria. There's just one criteria. فَأَمَّا مَنْ ثَقُلَتْ مَوَازِينُهُ فَهُوَ فِي عَيْشَةٍ رَاضِيَةٍ. On the day of judgment, فَأَمَّا مَنْ ثَقُلَتْ مَوَازِينُهُ فَهُوَ فِي عِيشَةٍ رَاضِيَةٍ وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَفَّتْ مَوَازِينُهُ فَأُمُّهُ هَاوِيَةٌ. The criteria on the day of judgment for a person to be successful, that means to enter paradise, Allah said there's a criteria is this. فَأَمَّا مَنْ ثَقُلَتْ مَوَازِينُهُ. When the balance of scales is placed, the good deeds and the evil deeds. وَأَمَّا مَنْ ثَقُلَتْ مَوَازِينُهُ. Those whose good deeds, the scale of good deeds is heavy, فَهُوَ فِي عِيشَةٍ رَاضِيَةٍ. He will be in an ish. Ish means zindagi. Radiyah means khush. Ek bahut hi khush zada zindagi. He will be in aishatan radiyah, in a very lovely lifestyle. وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَفَّتْ مَوَازِينُهُ. And those for whom whose good deeds are light and the evil deeds are more, فَأُمُّهُ هَاوِيَةٌ. Ummuhu means the place of return. A mother in Arabic is called because there's a reason. That mother is the hub of a child. The child gets hurt, it's the mother. The child wants something, it's the mother. He falls down, it's the mother. Wants food, it's the mother. Wants to sleep, it's the mother. Mother is the focal point of a child, and that's why it's called means a focal point. Because of a child's focal point is a mother, the mother is called Quran says, as for a person whose good deeds are less, for ummuhu, his focal point, his point of return will be Hawiya. وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا هِيَ. And what do you know what that fire of Jahannam is? What do you know what that fire of Jahannam is? You just recited over here. The punishment of the Akhirat. If I can't bear the punishment of this dunya, what I will bear the punishment of the Akhirat. So now the criteria is that if a person has to be successful, his scale of good deeds need to be heavy. This is categorically said. فَأَمَّا مَنْ ثَقُلَتْ مَوَازِينُهُ. Jiska jo hai, whoever's scale is heavy, هُوَ فِي عِيشَةٍ رَاضِيَةٍ. He'll have a beautiful life. As for the whose his scales are less, are not heavy, are light compared to the evil, فَأُمُّهُ هَاوِيَةٌ وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا هِيَ. You don't know what that it is. So this is the criteria. Because of this, that previous issue of people running away will come. Because on that day, everybody wants their good deeds to be heavy. This is Rawat, I'm telling you. This is why will a person break all and sever all his connections? This is the reason is this, that every person wants his balance of good deeds to be more. He sees his brother, I don't want to see him, lest he comes and takes away some of my good deeds and my good deeds become less heavy. For ummuhu hawiyah. I don't want to see my mother. I don't want to see my father. The father and the mother comes and tells me, Baba, till the time you were a kid, you could not hold yourself. We took care of you. I put you in my stomach. Give me one good deed. He says, if I give one good deed, mine will go. I don't want to see them. I don't want to talk to them. Neither my brother, nor my children, nor my wife, nor my father, nor my mother. I don't want anybody who I know who could come and take something from me. وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَفَّتْ مَوَازِينُهُ. My balance becomes less weighty. For ummuhu hawiyah. I don't want to go into hawiyah. To protect myself from going to hawiyah, into that fire, allati tattali'u 'ala al-af'ida, that burns from inside. The fire of dunya burns from outside. It kills the epidermis. The fire of akhirat burns from inside. You have never experienced the burning of inside in this world. It doesn't work. Because by the time the fire goes inside, your person is dead. Organs are killed. That epidermis finishes off. Those are third-degree burns. You don't survive. You don't reach that inside. Allah says on the day of judgment, we will burn you from inside. So I don't want anybody. Having understood this, now we need to come up to this point. Then why is it that Amirul Mu'mineen says, your most basic price for your life in this world is paradise. فَلَا تَبِيعُوهَا إِلَّا بِهَا. Do not sell your life except for paradise. Anything less than paradise is you've just wasted it big time. The reason is this, that get our pan of good deeds heavy is not difficult. And that is why Amirul Mu'mineen says, it's not difficult to get paradise. It's the most basic things. And today I want to highlight a few things to you. And I'm going to just pick up one aspect of our life in a 24-hour period to identify how easy it is to fill up that pan of good deeds. and enter into paradise as a justification for what Amirul Mu'mineen says. Having known these things, if we are still entering into Jahannam, then if after knowing these things, if Sheikh is made to go into Jahannam, then I say, Sheikh, you deserve to go to Jahannam. After knowing what I'm going to tell you, of the things that we can use to fill up our pan of good deeds, and fill it up so heavily, if despite that, if I've been told you have to go to Jahannam, I will say, I deserve to go to Jahannam. And I'm going to give you one small, I can't take a 24-hour whole period. I'm going to take you a few hours period to tell you what things have been given to us, and we are so nonchalant about those things. How ignorant we are towards those things, and we let those things go out of our hands, and then on the day of judgment we'll complain, oh, we are being taken to Jahannam. Whereas those have been given to us. And I will start off very simply. We will go from the time we are about to go to sleep till the time we get up for namaz al-fajr. I will take you across those things. But before I take you across those things and highlight certain things that we need to know, not that we need to know, we need to implement it and we need to pass it on to our kids. What's the point of going into paradise alone if your kids are not going? Ko maza hai? When we go for a restaurant to eat, we take the whole family. Do we go alone? We don't go alone. That's only in Dar Islam we have barazas over here. We don't go alone. See one. So you get, but before I go into that, I just want to tell you one thing. So the Quran has given us, those whose good deeds are heavy, Aishatun Radiyah. Those whose good deeds are light as opposed to evil deeds, for Ummuhu Hawiyah. Now I want to tell you, and just give you this introduction before we go into the actual discussion, where I want to take you. When you have two equal balances and two equal scales, and this is good and this is evil, what are the ways that this can be heavy? There are two ways that this balance can be heavy. One, I keep adding good deeds. And I keep adding good deeds, this will become heavy, this will become light. If this is heavy, فَأَمَّا مَنْ ثَقَلَتْ مَوَازِينُهُ فَهُوَ فِي عَيْشَةٍ رَاضِيَةٍ. He's in a good state. That is one way, that you keep adding good deeds. The other way is reducing the evil deeds. When you reduce the evil deeds, automatically this becomes heavy. Simple? Sayyanaba. Let's start off at night to say what has been given, what items have been given to us, and how many do we actually use in our lives to fill up that heavy deeds. Only a small period of a few hours and a few actions. So before we go to sleep, at the time of sleep, you go to sleep, you get up for namaz al-fajr. We don't even pray namaz al-fajr. That's the portion I'm taking of yours. And most of the time goes in sleep. Riwayat tell us, when somebody is about to go to sleep, yes, it is recommended to do wudu. A few things all of us know. I'm just emphasizing it and then adding a few more things. When you go to sleep at night, you're supposed to go to sleep in a state of taharat, with a state of wudu. What is the benefit of that? That same tradition of Wasail al-Shia with respect to Salman al-Farsi. When somebody tells the Holy Prophet that Salman is lying, says, when did Salman lie? And he says, somebody asked Salman that you spend the whole night in ibadat? And Salman says, yes, I spend the whole night in ibadat. But he's lying. He doesn't spend the whole night in ibadat because I've seen him sleeping. So the Holy Prophet says, Salman, you answer him. And he said, Ya Rasulullah, I've heard from you that whoever does wudu and goes to sleep, his entire night goes in ibadat. You are sleeping, the entire night goes in ibadat. You are sleeping, your entire night goes in ibadat. Keep a few things you know, a few things I'm taking. Why is it that we don't sleep with wudu at night? When we know that just sleeping is going to give us the entire ibadat. Why is it that we are so nonchalant towards it? See, we are trying to fill up that pan. You don't have to do anything, just do wudu. Wudu and then go off to sleep. Rabbi tell us, you go to sleep, and I'm going very quickly. Just reach where I want to take you. And I'm not here to spoon feed you. All that I'm telling you is that whatever we know, we need to bring it to mind and then implement it. Rabbi tell us, when a person goes to sleep, and he recites that, so you've got one aspect. Once you do wudu, Once you do wudu and goes to sleep, everybody knows the entire night, 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours, people like us, 8 hours, people like Ayatollah Behjat, 4 hours, the entire sleep is ibadat. You're doing nothing, you're just ibadat. You may be sleeping, but Allah is writing it as ibadat. Free. It's a free mil raha hai. Rabbi tells us at the time of going to sleep, if somebody recites the tasbih of Hazrat Zahra, as soon as he finishes that last Subhanallah, Allah sends an angel to the person's bedside. He says, go and sit next to him and count the number of breaths he takes from the time he sleeps. How many breaths do we take in a minute? 30, 40 breaths, 15 breaths, 20 breaths? Multiplied by number of hours into 1, and multiplied by 60, multiplied by the number of hours that he sleeps. The angel has said, go and count how many breaths he takes from the time he's finished the tasbih till the time he gets up. That entire breath is regarded as thawab and written down in his amal. How long does it take to recite tasbih Fatima Zahra? 1 minute. For some people, even less than 1 minute. For that half a minute, for that 1 minute, the number of breaths a person takes is regarded as thawab put into span of good deeds. So we finish 2. One is wudu, one is reciting tasbih Fatima Zahra. Salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Then you go to sleep. When you go to sleep, then you get up. When you get up, now you want to do the wudu to pray your namaz-e-fajr. And this is where I'm just taking this very portion. From the time of going to sleep till getting up ready for namaz-e-fajr. This is the only portion. And you will see, it has so many things to make this heavy. When you get up to do wudu, when you go to do wudu for namaz, there is something that is called, so when you're doing your wudu, before you start wudu, Riwayat tells us there is something which is called a sevak. Sevak means miswak. Miswak means brushing your teeth. While all of this, some of these you know, but we don't know how it impacts our ibadat. And that's what I want to pull it out of obscurity and give it to you so that you realize. Riwayat tells us that miswak that we do. So all the Maraji today say that even if you brush your teeth, that is considered as miswak. But in olden days, you never had Colgate, you never had Aqua Fresh. So they would use a particular tree by the name of arak. Riwayat tells us even any stick of a wet wood can be taken to clean the teeth. Afdal is this tree of arak. If a person does miswak, brushes his teeth in today's world, in those days, the Riwayat tells us, afdal is that. Even the Maraji say, while brushing is okay, but if you can get miswak with that piece of wood, it is even better. It is afdal. Riwayat tells us, 2 rakat with miswak is equivalent in thawab to offering 70 rakat without miswak. 2 rakat with miswak is equivalent, and you can, if I can get it in Peterborough, you can get it over here. The Muslim population is even more over here. If not, you can easily get it for £1.50 in Iraq. You have these vacuumed packets in which you get this miswak, the original miswak. If not, then the brush, which I'm sure most of us do. But the rewards of doing miswak and brushing your teeth, the Prophet says, Jibreel came and told me so many times about the importance of miswak that I felt he's going to make it wajib upon my ummah. So much emphasis, Ya Rasulullah, miswak, as-siwak, as-siwak, as-siwak. 2 rakat namaz with miswak, 2 rakat namaz with brushing is equivalent to 70 rakat namaz. That means 35 namaz. All that we need to do is, and I have personally seen Ayatollah Behjat carrying a small stick with him. He will just take it out and brush it. I have seen it personally. I've got miswak at home. I do it right next to my basin. If he doesn't have, take a brush. But before every namaz with miswak, 2 rakat namaz get the rewards of 70 rakat. That means 2 rakat namaz is equivalent to 35 prayers. We don't understand. We don't have miswak, take out a brush, Colgate, Aquafresh, brush. When we know 35 times, you know what 35 times means? Means if somebody were to offer his prayers for 1 year with miswak is equivalent to somebody offering 35 years of prayer without miswak. 35 years. This is called working smart as opposed to working hard. All that you need to do is before namaz, brush your teeth. If you get miswak, so much the better. You can get it in so many shops. People go for ziyarat. You can pick it from Iraq. I got mine from Iraq, some of them from here. And it lasts a lifetime. Forever it lasts. It's not like toothbrush and Colgate that it just finishes off. Then you're doing wudu. Wudu, when you're finishing brushing, you're doing the wudu. Remember, we said there are two things. Either you increase the good deeds. These are those increase in good deeds. At the same time, you decrease your good deeds. So this automatically becomes heavier. Riwayat tell us, at the time of wudu, if somebody recites Suratul Qadr, all his sins are forgiven. Automatically, this becomes heavy. How long does it take to recite Suratul Qadr? How many? How long? I'm not talking about those who are doing it. There would be people doing it. My attention is towards those who know Suratul Qadr, who can recite it in 15 seconds. They do wudu for half a minute, but they're not reciting it. The entire sins, Riwayat tell us, Suratul Qadr has certain characteristics. If you recite it at the time of wudu, all the sins are forgiven. The same Suratul Qadr, a person when he's praying namaz, if he recites Suratul Qadr in one of the rakats of his namaz, all the sins before the namaz are forgiven. You've got Suratul Qadr at the time of wudu. You've got Suratul Qadr at the time of namaz. Both of them have the ability to forgive our sins, to remove the sins so that this automatically becomes heavy. We are just not bothered. We don't know. We don't want to do it. Those who are doing. MashaAllah, you should do it. But those who are not doing, there's another. These are small things. But people say small things, but the return on investment is just amazing. For example, everybody knows, who doesn't know over here, tell me, that at the time of praying, if you put a perfume, the value of that namaz increases 70 times. How many of us don't know? How many of us don't? Everybody knows. How many of us actually do it? You know what it means? 70 times the reward of a namaz. So he's standing up for namaz as-subh. All he needs to do is take a little atar, put it over here. If not atar, take a perfume and put it on your body. It increases the value of the namaz 70 times. We want to increase that scale of good deeds. فَهُوَ فِي عَيْشَةٍ رَاضِيَةٍ. Anything that adds to the value. Riwayat tell us a salat prayed with wudu, with perfume is equivalent to the reward of praying 70 salat without perfume. Let me put it into context for you. You know what that means? One salat with perfume is equivalent to 70 salats without perfume. It means if somebody were to pray for 1 year, all his salat with a little dab of perfume or an atar, it will be equivalent to him having prayed 70 years of his namaz without perfume. People spend their entire life without doing this. Somebody who's lived for 70 years, that means somebody who's lived for 85 years. 15 years he becomes baligh. 70 years of his namaz without perfume. And a young boy from the madrasa, his teacher has told him, you pray namaz with perfume. 1 year he prays, he gets a reward equivalent to that 70 years of that namaz prayed by the old man. Whose fault if you are not putting that? Whose fault? I'll tell you one incident. This will mind boggle you of what has been placed. Now, just park over here. Yahan tak jo maine baat ki. Agar to ye baat, these things which I have told you, if I know and I don't do it, I don't recite Suratul Qadr at the time of wudu, my sins don't get forgiven. I don't recite Suratul Qadr in my namaz, my sins don't get forgiven. At least din mein ek baar to ek rakat mein Surah Qadr pad sakta. One person can pray one Suratul Qadr in a day. If I don't pray, then my sins don't get forgiven. I don't recite Tasbih Fatima to Zahra, my good deeds don't increase. I don't do this, I don't do that, my namaz, my perfume doesn't increase. I do miswak, it doesn't increase. On the day of judgment, if I'm said, Sheikh, your good deeds are less, you need to go to Jahannam, I should not complain. I should tell God, yes, I deserve to go into Jahannam. You had told me everything, I knew it, but I did not do it. Isse badkar to koi ruswai nahi hai na. You have to pass judgment on yourself, you have to be fair. तुझे पता था कि इसका फायदा क्या है, लेकिन फिर भी तूने अंजाम नहीं दी. Listen to this tradition one and then we stop. Masahib ka. These are mind-boggling things that the Ma'asumeen have given to us. Remember once I told you, 6 Imam says, Ta'ajjab, to I'm doing ta'ajjub. I give you the keys to success, you don't want to use it. ये तो ऐसे हुआ कि जो है दरवाजा बंद है, चाबी हाथ में, जो है वो इंसान चाबी इस्तेमाल नहीं करता. The door is closed. I want to go outside, but the keys are in your hand. Put it into the lock and turn the key. But you don't do that. The door is locked. Complain, crying, complain, crying, complain, crying. Imam says, Ta'ajjab, I'm doing ta'ajjub. You have it with you, you're not using it. अब बस एक छोटी सी जो है वो हदीस सुना के बताने के लिए तो माइंड बॉगल. एक मरतबा ये छठे इमाम की रिवायत, बिहार में भी, वसाइल शिया में भी, वॉल्यूम नंबर 3, शेख खुर्रामली बयान करते. क्या, what is the issue? It says one day Amirul, sixth Imam is saying, one day Amirul Mu'mineen was sitting with Muhammad ibn Hanafiya, or Muhammad Hanafiya. He says, Muhammad, get me a glass, or get me a pitcher of water. I need to, a jug of water. I need to do wudu. So Muhammad Hanafiya brought him the water. Imam starts to do wudu. But he starts to do wudu in a different way. Naushad bhai sambar do bana. He starts doing the wudu. As he's doing the wudu, he starts taking the water. He looks at the water. He recites a dua. Bismillah alladhi alhamdulillah alladhi ja'al al-ma'a tahura wa lam yaj'alhu najisa. Forget about translation. Just leave the Arabic, otherwise we'll go. He takes it, puts it in his mouth. Allahumma la taj'al, puts it into his mouth, madmada. Allahumma laqqani hujjati yawma alqaq. He puts it out. Takes the water, puts it into his mouth. Allahumma la tuharrim anni alayya rih al-jannah warzuqni rihaha wa tibaha. Allah, don't make haram upon me the smell of fragrance of Jannah, and give me its smell and give me its fragrance. Everything he's doing is picking up and he's reciting the dua. Takes it, puts it in his right hand. Allahumma a'atini kitabi bi yamini wal khulda fil janana bi yasari wa hasibni hisaban yasira. Takes it and puts it on his left hand. Allahumma la tu'atini kitabi bi shimali wa la taj'alha maghlutatan ila unuqi wa a'udhu bika min maqatta'at an-niran. Takes it, puts it on his chest. Allahumma ghashini bi rahmatika wa 'afwika ridwanik. Goes and puts a masa on his legs. اللهم ثبتني على الصراط يوم تزل الأقدام واجعل سعي بما يرضيك عني. Then he finishes off. Then he looks at Muhammad Hanafiya. He says, you saw what I did? He says, yeah, yes, Baba, I saw what you did. He says, from the time I set my eyes on the water till the time I did the masa, there was this dua. He says, man amila, man yatawadda'a. Whoever does wudu in this way. So now, when we do wudu, put yourself into the place when we are doing the wudu, yeah? With all these du'as. When you're doing the water, you put the water. Some people use less water, some people with more water. If I were to ask you, when we are doing the wudu, how many drops of water fall out? So at times, when you're pushing your hands and washing hands, certain water droplets get sprinkled. Other times, the tap is open and the water keeps flowing. You cannot count and compute or calculate the drops because it's a constant flow. But if I were to, and I don't want you to answer, think on yourself, from the time you start the wudu till the time you end and you do the masa, how many drops of water do you think would have gone? 5 drops, 10 drops, 100 drops, 1,000 drops, 10,000 drops? The water is flowing, you keep putting, you put sprinkling on the water splatters out. We don't know. I leave it to you, depending upon how much water you use. Amir al-Mu'minin says, Man tawadda, whoever does wudu in this manner that I have done and recites this dua, the moment he completes his wudu, Allah picks up those drops of water that have fallen and creates angels equivalent to the number of drops. Those angels are said, this servant of mine has done the wudu with this dua all the time, remembering me. Because when you put water on the face, what do you tell? Allahumma bayyid wajhi yawma tabyaddu fihi al-wujuh wa la tusabbid wajhi yawma tabyaddu fihi al-wujuh. Allah, make my face bright when faces are going to become dark, and don't make my face dark when the faces are going to become dark. He's always remembering. All those drops are converted into angels. Riwayat Amir al-Mu'minin says, these angels are given the task, وَهُمْ يُقَدِّسُوهُ وَتُقَدِّسُهُ وَتُكَبِّرُهُ وَتُسَبِّحُهُ. They do taqdees of Allah, they do tasbih of Allah, they do Allah tahleel and Allahu Akbar Allah. From the time the wudu is completed, those drops are converted into angels. All of them are doing tasbih and taqdees and tahleel of God. God says, up to the day of judgment, you're going to keep reciting these, and all the rewards of this goes into the hands of this person, into the book of this person who does one wudu. One wudu. अब आप सोचिए, if somebody were to recite this at every wudu, or if somebody were to recite once a day these du'as, once a day, there are probably 10,000 drops of water that are there. Every day 10,000 drops of water converted into 10,000 angels. We're not even counting how many drops when the water is constantly flowing down. All those 10,000 angels every day, tasbih, tahleel, taqdees, all the rewards coming into our name goes on for the entire life. If somebody learns at the age, if you teach your son at the age of 15 years and he lives up to the age of 85, 70 years, every day he's getting 10,000 angels. Imagine on the day of judgment how many good deeds is he have. We've got these given to us. We've got this in our hands, but then we don't know. And this is where I want to take you. You remember on Friday, last Friday, I mentioned that hadith of the sixth Imam. What did the sixth Imam say to that person who comes and says, Yabna Rasulullah, I'm not able to do a lot of wajibat, I'm not able to do a lot of mustahabbat, I'm not able to do a lot of mustahabbat, I just stick to the wajibat and I'm so engrossed in earning halal livelihood. What did Imam say? He says, Imam says, if you refrain from sins, you're into paradise. Why? Because of this. When you don't have that tap open, whatever you fill in the pan always remains heavy. It is exactly like that risk. You keep pouring inside, but if you keep the tap open, everything goes. That's why Imam says the things that you do have so much reward. Just make sure you don't do anything haram for these things to be warded away, to be burnt away, and then you will enter paradise. It is very simple. That is why Amirul Mu'mineen says, you're only the minimum thing that you should get for your life in this world is paradise. Don't sell your life for something less than paradise. And this is that has been sent to us. We've got the keys. Do we use it? لَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ. We've made the Quran easy to understand. For هَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ. Is there somebody who will read? That has always been this thing of God. कि हमने सब चीज बता दी तुम्हें. है कोई जो है मर्दान हिम्मत वाला के उठ के जो है मेरी तालीमात को उठा के जो है अपनी जिंदगी को संवार लें. And then this is what happens. And this is and these are given by the Ma'sumin. They have been sent for us. Al-Mahdiyun. They've been sent, guided to guide us. And in the guidance, then you get incidences like this one. Rawat says, 2 minutes of masab and then finish. Rawat tell us, one day a very, the original Arabs are very rough, very crude. They don't know how to talk. दिल में बहुत सारी चीज़ होगी, लेकिन ज़बान जो है उनकी बहुत रूखी होती है. So one Arab comes inside into the haram of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Enters the haram of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, he spreads out his legs in front of the dhari. I just picture the dhari of Imam Hussain. He just comes inside. He says, Ya Hussain, I've come for your ziyarat. Then he spreads out his legs, he puts up his dishdasha to show his legs. He says, Hussain, look at my legs. Look at the blisters. I came walking to see you. I came walking to see you, look at my legs. I just want to show you. Out of love, I've come to you. He spreads out his legs and says, Hussain, look at my legs. So many blisters. It's all bleeding, it's hurt. A khadim was over there. He sees this, he doesn't like it. What is this? This is gustaki. This is disrespect to Hussain ibn Ali. You sit in front of Hussain, spread your legs towards the dhari. And then when you spread the legs towards the dhari, now you're trying to tell him that, look, I've come to you, my legs are blistered, I want to show you. This is what I've come for you. That person, Khadim, gets upset. He comes and gives him a tap on his head. Then what are you talking? This is not how you talk to the Imam. Be respectful. Fold your legs. Don't talk like this. He gets up. He says, I'm going from Hussein's haram. Turns to Hussain and says, I came to give salams to you and say for your ziyarat, and this is what I got. I'm leaving you, Hussain. He goes away. Khadim goes at night, goes to sleep. At night in his dreams, says Imam Hussain. Hussain comes to him and says, give me the keys to my haram. He says, what is it? He says, give me the keys. I don't want your khidmat. He says, Mawla, what happened? He says, you hit my Zair today. He says, Mola, did you not see how he was speaking to you? He says, that has got nothing to do with you, how this person speaks to me. This is between my Zair and myself. He can speak to me as and how he wants. Who are you to interfere? He is my Zair. He will speak to me as and how he wants. I will accept as and how he wants. You had no right to hit him. I don't want your khidmat. Give me your keys. I will turn to Imam and say, Mola, this one Zair who's not even known, who is not even your relation, who was not there even in Karbala, who is just your muhib. For this muhib, for this Zair, you have so much love, but what would have gone through your hearts when you saw what happened to your children in Karbala? Whenever Sakina would call out for your father, for her father, and say, Ya Hussein, Ya Abbas, all that she would get would be slaps of Omar and Shah Saad and whippings of Shimr. And imagine what would happen to Sayyida Sajjad. Are Sayyida Sajjad, the state of the yoke on his neck was that when his ghusl was being given by Imam Baqir alayhi salam, Imam Baqir cries like a child. When somebody asks Imam Baqir, why are you crying? He says, my father Zainul Abidin, 35 years after Karbala, there were still marks of the yokes that the Najib enemies had put around the neck. Mola, when you had seen these issues with Sajjad and Sakina, your heart so naram and gentle that a Zair is not being accepted by the behavior towards a Zair is not accepted by you. What would have happened to your heart when you saw what happened to Sakina and Sajjad?